With Maduro detained, Venezuela has entered a dangerous political vacuum. Vice President Delcy Rodríguez was sworn in as interim president within hours of the arrest. In a televised address, she praised Maduro and his wife as heroes of the revolution. She accused the United States of imperialism and vowed resistance, but questions remain. Will this lead to democracy or deeper chaos? One thing is certain, Latin America has entered a new chapter, and the consequences will be felt far beyond Venezuela's borders. Who truly controls the military? Who controls the oil? And how long can an interim government survive under international pressure? Inside Venezuela, tensions are rising, banks have closed early, troops are on high alert, and protests both for and against Maduro are spreading. Venezuela sits on the world's largest proven crude oil reserves. Oil revenues fund more than half of the country's government budget, but years of sanctions, corruption, mismanagement, and underinvestment have crippled production. State-run oil giant PDVSA is a shadow of its former self. Maduro has long accused Washington of targeting Venezuela not for justice, but for oil. U.S. officials deny this, yet the timing of the arrest has reignited old suspicions across Latin America. U.S. President Donald Trump has taken full ownership of the operation, posting an image of Maduro aboard the USS Iwo Jima. Trump said the capture showed strength, leadership, and accountability. Trump has long blamed Maduro for the arrival of hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan migrants in the United States. Without providing evidence, he has accused the Venezuelan government of emptying prisons and psychiatric institutions, forcing inmates to migrate north. Trump denies the U.S. is at war with Venezuela, but in a recent interview, he said something striking. The person ultimately in charge of Venezuela is me. Tonight, the world is watching Venezuela. In an operation that has stunned Latin America and shaken global politics, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife Cilia Flores have been arrested by United States forces, seized from their Caracas compound, and flown to New York to face criminal charges. Supporters call it justice long overdue. This is not just the fall of a president, it is a test of international law, power, and moral authority. History will judge whether this moment brought justice or instability. For now, Venezuela waits and the world watches. She praised U.S. President Donald Trump's actions, saying they gave hope to millions of Venezuelans who had lost faith in change. But she also issued a warning. The interim president, Delcy Rodríguez, Maduro's former vice president, cannot be trusted, Machado said. On Monday morning, Nicolás Maduro appeared in a New York federal courtroom wearing a dark suit flanked by armed marshals, and seated beside his wife, he delivered a defiant message. "I am still president," he told the judge. Maduro pleaded not guilty to all charges, declaring himself a kidnapped president and a prisoner of war. The hearing lasted just 30 minutes, but its symbolism was historic. Nicolás Maduro remains in U.S. custody. His trial could take years. Venezuela remains deeply divided. Supporters see a revolutionary leader taken down by foreign powers. Opponents see a dictator finally held accountable. The future of the country now hangs in the balance. Just after dawn on Saturday, U.S. Special Forces stormed Nicolás Maduro's heavily guarded residence in Caracas. Within minutes, the Venezuelan leader, who has ruled the country for over a decade, was taken into custody along with his wife, former First Lady Cilia Flores. No warning, no negotiations, no public announcement. It is a term used to describe networks of corrupt officials who allegedly allow cocaine to transit through Venezuela. Maduro has always denied involvement. He says the U.S. war on drugs is merely an excuse, a cover for regime change and access to Venezuela's oil. House Speaker Mike Johnson insisted this was not regime change but accountability. The United Nations has called for restraint. Human rights groups warn of escalation. Markets are watching oil prices closely. Hours after the court appearance, Venezuela's opposition leader María Corina Machado broke her silence. Speaking to Fox News, Machado called the arrest a huge step for humanity, for freedom, and for human dignity. Machado, who spent months in hiding last year, left Venezuela recently to accept the Nobel Peace Prize awarded for her resistance against what the Nobel Committee called a dictatorship. She has not returned since. Global reaction has been swift and divided. Some Latin American leaders have condemned the arrest as a violation of international law. Others have remained silent. In Washington, Trump officials briefed top lawmakers. Democratic Senate leader Chuck Schumer described the plan for Venezuela as vague and unsatisfying. For the first time, a sitting Venezuelan leader stood before a U.S. judge accused not of politics but of crime. Dramatic images showed Maduro and Flores being led in handcuffs through the courthouse, surrounded by armed officers. Outside, protesters gathered, some cheering, others furious. Critics call it an act of aggression, and Maduro himself calls it a kidnapping. This is not just the arrest of a man. It is a moment that could redefine sovereignty, intervention, and power in the 21st century. What happened? Why now? And what does it mean for Venezuela, the United States, and the world? By the time Venezuelans woke up, their president was already on a military aircraft bound for the United States. According to U.S. officials, the operation was conducted under sealed federal indictments related to drug trafficking, weapons offenses, and alleged ties to international criminal networks. The White House says the action was lawful, targeted, and necessary. Venezuela's government calls it an illegal act of foreign invasion. At the heart of the U.S. case are allegations of drug trafficking. Two Venezuelan criminal groups, Tren de Aragua and the Cartel de los Soles, have been designated as foreign terrorist organizations. Trump alleges that the Cartel de los Soles is led by Maduro himself, but analysts urge caution. The so-called cartel is not a single organization